Hey, what's up guys? In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to set up a song for Ableton Live. So if you are on a worship team or in tech or a worship leader at your church, this may be an awesome opportunity for you to learn something new. If you are not on a worship team or you're just a congregation member, a team member, no worries. This might be interesting to you. You get to see what goes into setting up a song for worship on Sunday morning. So we're going to jump into it. Ableton doesn't like to work very well when you are screen sharing. So let's see what we get. First thing that you need to do is download the song from multitracks.com. Multitracks.com is definitely the best place to get it from if you're looking for the original files. So what we're doing is we're setting up Paul and Silas, and so we have a list right here of all of our songs in our library, and then we have a folder called Paul and Silas. So this is the actual song straight from Multitracks. When you first open it up, it's going to give you this error right here, which you can click yes and click OK. The very next thing is notice that the tracks are rendered at 44.1. You want them to be rendered at 48 if you are running your PA at 48, or even if you're running it at 96K. A lot of times it's being converted from 48. So we're going to go to Live, Settings, and we're going to want to make sure in settings that our sample rate is set to 48,000, not 44.1. You're going to be kicking yourself later. What happens is if the song is allowed to play out with the tracks at 44.1 and it's running at 48K, then it has to do all of the upsampling while it's playing live, which takes up CPU. So you do not want to do that. So step one, we're going to come in here, we're going to hit File, Save Live Set As, going to click Paul and Silas, and then what I like to do is I'll do Paul and Silas, so I'll give it the song's title first, and then I like to put default, and then the key, which is E. We're going to make sure we save it in this file here, and we are using Dropbox. So File, Collect All, and Save. This is super important to make sure that the files actually save into the right folder. Cool. So the very next thing we're going to do, which might take a minute, is we are going to go to each track here. We're going to select them all, and we're going to hit Warp. I like to actually do it twice, and then under Beats, we're going to change this to Complex Pro. And next thing with them all selected is we're going to consolidate. So consolidating is going to re-render all of the tracks from 44.1 to 48K so that when they are playing back, it requires the least amount of CPU possible. Now, while that's happening, we are going to want the reference of this song. So I use a program called Clip Grab. We're going to go to Search. We'll look up Paul and Silas. And this is searching YouTube for the actual song. Let's try At Midnight. There we go. So we're going to grab the song here, and then we're going to go ahead and grab that clip, and that's going to begin saving the song to downloads. So we're getting this error just because this song is continuing to render. It's not quite done yet. Cool. So that is done. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to grab this template. So I have my master template that I like to use. I'm going to grab that and I'll explain that template to you later, but for now I'm going to drop that into the top. And the very next thing I want to do is grab this click track. I'm going to copy it and I'm going to come over here and paste it into tempo. And so you can see we have references, markers, time signature, control, lights, pro presenter, and then tempo. I'm going to come down next and get the guide track. And for now, we're actually going to grab this guide track and we're going to put it here and we're going to drop it in twice. And I'll explain that a little bit more later as well. Once that's done, we're going to come over here and it gets a little bit easier. We're going to grab all of these drum tracks and we're going to put them into our drum group that we have here. And we will delete these extra tracks because we don't need them. And then we're going to come over here to our bass tracks, bring these in, drop them here. Then we're going to grab our keys. And we'll put those here. In the template, I like to have as many of the track options as possible. That just makes it easier later when you're dragging them into a set using a template. So we'll put that there, and then we'll grab our vocal tracks, and we will drop them into our vocal channels here. There we go. I think we missed our guitar tracks, so we'll grab those next. And then finally, we will grab our acoustic guitar track, bring that up, drop it in. Perfect. Okay, so now we do not need these anymore, so we're going to delete them. And then we're going to do stop, file, collect all, and save. It's always good to save as often as possible. All right, so that now that those are saved, we're going to continue on to the next step here. Let's see. Oh, like I said, Ableton does not like to work very well when you are screen sharing at the same time. So let's see if we can make it through it here. So the next thing, we can do a couple different things. The first thing that I'm going to do next is I'm actually going to grab my timecode file. So what I did is I created an Ableton project that has a bunch of pre-built timecode files in it, and I use LTC in order for that to work, and I can show you guys that in a different video, but it's always good. The more templates you have and pre-built items, the better. And so right here in my Ableton Tools folder, I have my timecode project. And then I have a numbers doc or an Excel sheet that's got my timecode values preloaded in. So I will pick the next slot that's here and do Paul and Silas. And it's going to be 640. And so I will come over here into our Ableton 11 template. They are 10-minute sections each, and then we trim them down. So, and we run it at 24 FPS. So we will expand that, find 640, which is here, and then I'm going to drop this into the timecode file. So if you don't know, timecode is essentially a signal that is sent out, and you can pick it up in ProPresenter or at the lighting console to control automations. A lot of people do MIDI automations. I prefer timecode, and just because you can get a lot more nuanced with timecode. So this timecode track is exactly the right length at 10 minutes. That's perfect. Normally it would be shorter, so what we would do is just cut it shorter. Now, a couple things that's important. One is we're going to warp and unwarp this timecode track. It's important that the timecode track does not stretch or it will not work. So the timecode track, it cannot flex like the rest of the Ableton tracks can. So next, we're going to take this and we're going to consolidate this timecode track. And when you do that, it's going to warp it. So it's going to be really important to go back and actually unwarp it when it's done. So this is not necessary. This is just showing you the step. But normally with a timecode track, it's going to be 10 minutes long. This song is exactly 10 minutes. And so what you would typically do is you would cut the timecode track down to the length of the song, and then you would consolidate it, which would lock that track length into however long the song actually is. This one happens to be exactly 10 minutes. So we really don't need to consolidate it, but we're going to consolidate it anyway just to give you an idea of what's going on. So this process takes a minute. It's taken way longer than it normally does because we are streaming it live. Um, but it'll go through this process, and the more powerful computer you have, the faster it is able to render these tracks. While we're waiting, if you use Ableton Live, put in the comments if you use the arrangement view or the session view when you are live. Um, I've gone back and forth. I used to use arrangement view all the time. I've got some great friends that use arrangement view, but I am session view all of the way now, and I will explain that why later. So this is done. So what we're going to do is we're going to unwarp the track. We want to make sure it stays unwarped, and it is now ready. So again, save often. So we're going to come over here, collect all, and save. Next step is we downloaded this song right here. We can't play much of it because we are live, but I'll give you an idea of what we're going to do. So we're going to come down to downloads, come up here and we are going to paste the song like this. A couple things you're going to notice right away. The song is at 44.1, and we are using this reference track for two reasons. One, well, a couple reasons actually, more than two. One of the reasons is when we set up our um, lyrics, it's easier to set up the lyrics in ProPresenter when we can actually hear the song playing. The next reason why we're doing it is because it allows us, if let's say we were wanting to show a particular part of the song during rehearsal, we can actually listen to it in time with the click or send out reference tracks. And then the last reason really kind of comes down to, this is kind of a last ditch effort, but let's say you were actually in the middle of the set and there was something crazy going on, you could actually bring in the reference to the ears only and allow the band to hear it. So we're going to make sure that this is at unity so it can plays back. We're going to warp and unwarp, and then now we just need to line up the song. So let's hear how it sounds. We're going to play only small clips of it. There we go. We'll turn this timecode track off. So let's see what we got here.
1, 2, intro, 2, 3, 4.
All right, so that's going to be a verse here. The goal here is to try to line this up so that it starts right at the beginning of that verse.
3, 4.
Looks like it's going to line up closer to here.
3, 4.
All right, that's getting a little bit closer. I might line it up a little bit better here. So we're looking for these hits, and we want to try to get those hits lined up perfectly. Maybe a little bit more.
4.
All right, so now that we're close, we're going to fast forward to a bigger part of the song. Let's hear this. I think that maybe the verse starts there. Let's try it. Of course, I picked a really difficult song to show you tonight. Let's go there. There it is. All right, let's try this part. All right. Looks like that's actually going to go here. Perfect, that's good there. Then we'll go here. That lines up, and we will try just a couple small parts of the song here just to make sure it lines up all the way. Oh, we crashed. We want to recover that. Hopefully it stayed lined up for us. All right. I think we might need to realign this. Yeah, a little bit more. Perfect. Okay, so now we have the song lined up. We're going to make sure that we drag so that we have the full beginning of the song. Going to go from here all the way to the very end of the song, and actually we're going to drag that there. Apply a little bit of a fade. Going to hit stop, hold shift to highlight the entire song from the beginning, and we are going to consolidate. So all of this consolidating takes quite a bit of time, but it is definitely worth it to do it along the way. So what this is doing is it's rebuilding this file so that it starts right at the beginning of the song and it's going to end right there at the end, and it's going to be lined up perfectly for us. And so again, like I was saying, if you were actually live and playing the song and there were to be some major issue, you could have a fader set up to bring in the reference track into the in-ears, which would help get everybody back on to where they should be in the song. Or it's more realistically helpful during rehearsal, where if you're trying to show somebody a piece of the song, you can just pull a fader in and let them hear it. All right, very good. So now we're going to go to File, Collect All, and Save. Again, we're going to save often, especially with it crashing the way that it is. So the next thing we're going to do is double click here. This is just a MIDI track right there. And we're going to grab this track and we're going to drag it all the way to the 10-minute mark. Gotta love these 10-minute worship songs here. So we're going to come over there and going to right click on that track and we're going to consolidate it, which is going to happen immediately since it's a MIDI track. We'll take that, we're going to duplicate it and post it here. Now for this one, we're going to click Command R and then put the time signature. Going to expand the markers, and this is going to be important later on, especially because we're not going to get these flags in the session view. And so I'm going to come over here, and I like to use caps. So we're going to come over here, Command E. When you place that here and click Command E, it's going to cut the track. So we can come over here, click verse 1. Basically, we're going to go through and we're going to label the entire song. And again, this is nice for a lot of reasons. One is when you are over in the arrangement view, you can actually see it very well. So we'll come over here, Command E, Command R, verse 4. Oop. And I know you guys get to sit back and watch the fun, tedious part here where we do this. So while I'm doing this, again, I'm curious to know what view do you guys like to use in Ableton Live? Do you like to use arrangement view or do you like to use session view? Put that in the comments. Let me know your insight. I used to use arrangement view for everything, which is this timeline view. And since then, I now really enjoy the session view. And what that does is that allows us to kind of jump to any part of the song whenever we want to, or hold on a particular part of the song. And so most of the time during the set, we play the song straight out, but particularly in our transition songs, we like to, here, I'm just going to save this real quick. Transition between the set list and the sermon, we like to go in and out of different reprises, and setting it up like this really gives us the ability to do that freely. A lot of people think that tracks means that you can't let the spirit move and you're really stuck into a particular um, setup, and the reality is that's not true at all. As long as you have your Ableton file set up properly, you can jump to just about any part of the song. Again, we like to use an APC key 40, and that's mapped out for a couple different functions. One is to be able to fire the songs. It lets us fire different parts of the song, and then we can also fade track buses in and out, as well as various reference tracks in and out, clicks in and out, and then we actually have a count that is a constant 4 count. So it's constantly counting to 4 on time, and so let's say we get way off click, we can actually fade that 4 count in, and that helps the drummer and everybody get back on time. All right, so we're labeling all these here. Cool. So if you're jumping in late in the video, I am on here showing how we set up our Ableton files. This isn't going to be how to do the set. This is just getting a song ready to be put in a set. So we have labeled everything now, and we are getting into pretty good shape. So we've got all of that set up here. We have our markers, our time. We've got our time code set up here, our click, and now what we're going to do is we are going to set up our repeat guide. And the way this works is we are going to drag it so that everything's down a section of the song. And so the reason why is because normally you're used to hearing, for example, coming out of the verse into the pre-chorus, you would actually hear
Pre-chorus 1.
it say pre-chorus 1. But if you wanted to repeat the section, you would do a MIDI command to repeat. It would turn off the main guide and put the repeat guide on, and so when it got to this section, it would actually say verse 2, and it would bring you back to the beginning again. So that's why we do this. And what we're going to do is just drag all of these guide triggers so that they line up in the correct places. And this can get a little bit tricky. For example, right here. There we go. I'm going to turn the song off just so that it doesn't get us kicked here. All right. So this vamp's a little tricky, so that's going to come back to right here actually. There we go. So we get a full bar, or a full measure rather. So bring this over here. And again, we're just going to go through and we're going to line all of these up into their correct places. Going to check and make sure I'm right here. Some songs have different cues like build, and we don't want those in the repeat. There's the bridge. Grab this, bring it back. Now, one thing you can do is you can do Command 2, which is going to make these lines a little bit less narrow, so that's going to make it easier here. There's a refrain. Bring that over here. All right. There we go, making sure that those refrains are still set up. So it looks like we're pretty lined up, and there we go. We'll get these fixed.
Instrumental.
And again, this is just so you can cut back and repeat a particular part of the song, and instead of telling you what's coming next, it looks like we might get a freeze here. Instead of it telling you what's coming next, it's actually going to tell you to play that same part again. While we're waiting for that to become less frozen, I will pull this back up and show you what we got. So basically, what I'm doing is I'm setting up the songs here with their various timecode values, because once I assign a timecode value to a song, ideally I want to try to keep that value and not change it. And you get quite a few options there before you run out of timecode values because you have the 24-hour clock to work with. Looks like this crashed, so we're actually going to force quit it and go back in and see how it did saving for us. Yes, we want to recover. All right, we'll go back to our repeat guide and see where we left off. Awesome. Now again, Ableton is usually extremely stable, and we're kind of really pushing it because we are asking it to do all this while we are screen recording and streaming live at the same time here. So that's going to line all those up. Last one is ending, which is there. Going to cut that. And now we need to go ahead and consolidate this. So we're going to hit stop, which puts it back to 1. Hold shift and the end, and then we're going to consolidate. All right, and we crashed. Let's see if we got that to save before it did. We did not. All right, we will give that a try. Well, let's save it first, and then we'll give that a try one more time. See if we can get it to save. So just a little bit about timecode. Basically, I use um, a website called LTC. This is something that I learned when I met with JMix at Elevation.Church. This is similar to what they do. And so basically, he showed me this website. It's great. You can go on and you can download the timecode clips and you can put exactly how much time you want. And so what I do is I put 10 minutes and I do 10-minute intervals from 000 all the way through the 24-hour clock. And I created all of those files. I went in and I downloaded them one by one and I put them into a timecode template, or excuse me, an Ableton template, which allows me to easily add timecode to a song. All right, we are good to go here. So we're going to click File, Collect All, and Save again to make sure that we have it. Perfect. All right, so now just to kind of run through this to make sure we got it all, we have the reference track, we have the different markers put in the time signature. We don't need any of these control functions just yet. And then we have our timecode file tempo. We're going to come back to count guide, and then we have all of our actual song tracks. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to go to this scene control function. And I'm actually using that because we are using a redundant Ableton setup. So we're using two Ableton computers running at the same time, and they are both synced together so that when you start one, it starts the other. And basically, the reason why we do that is because if we have a computer crash in the middle of the set, we can just click a button, and that will bring us over to computer number two. So we have a different plugin. I'll have to pull that up and show you what that is later, but basically, that is what tells the other computer what section of the song that we are in the scene control. And so we don't have any MIDI commands in here. It's done through the plugin. But what I am going to do is use this to actually label the key that we're in, which becomes helpful later on too. So that is put in there. We're going to make sure that this is consolidated. Again, stop, file, collect all, and save. And this is probably going to be the most tedious part. So we're going to come over here to the session view. Very important. Don't forget to do this. You want to make sure that at least for a couple of them, you put in the BPM and the time signature. Going to click Command R, and we're going to write the name of the song. And that's really all we need for now is that name. And I'll tell you what, actually, we'll do this. We're going to put count off, and we'll set that up. Um, all right, so the next thing we're going to do, we want to make sure that this is selected here, and we're going to come in, and this is going to take a little bit of time. We have a two measure count off, which we really do not want. We really want it to be one because we don't want to have much space in between the songs when we're playing them. I used to actually stitch the songs together, but I find it's better now with spontaneous moments happening in between songs to actually leave them apart. And then our band will just vamp to fill in the space in between. But you still want that count off to be short. You don't want to hit the count off and then have to wait 2 bars for it to start. So what we're going to do is we want to make sure that there is nothing playing, and so that when we cut the first bar out, it doesn't snap in. So we're going to listen. Cool. So there is nothing going on here, so we actually don't need to do anything, but I will throw a flag here just in case. So that means this is now prepared. and this is set up. Really important that this is selected here. We're going to come in, and again, it's a tedious process, but we're going to consolidate time to new scene, and we are going to do that for every single chunk of the song. I'm going to click Command 2, which is going to just make these chunks a little bit easier to select. This is a very cool tool to a really cool skill to have, and so I've been wanting to make some of these videos for a long time. I've been building Ableton sets for over 10 years now, and I've made so many mistakes both in setting up the sets and then also later on when actually running them live. And so, great opportunity for you to learn from my mistakes and see some of the tricks to do this faster. I'm going to file, collect all, and save just because we've had some crashes. The other thing too is just a little tip here. When you select your chunk, always consolidate time to new scene. Don't ever select it without doing that. That way you know that if it's selected, then it's already consolidated. Because something really simple like you are doing this entire process and you walk away for a second, you come back and you can't remember if you consolidated the chunk. If you accidentally do it twice, then what it's going to do is it's going to actually um, duplicate that part of the song, which is not fun when you don't recognize it until you step into rehearsal and realize that the song is not consolidated correctly after you've moved it into the set. All right, so we're coming up on about halfway through the song here. And this song is nice because these chunks are a lot smaller, so they're consolidating quite a bit faster. I remember this was a process that took a very long time on the Intel Macs. This is a M3 Apple Silicon, an M3 Max, and so it renders through these pretty quickly. All right, this feels like a good time to do a quick consolidate or collect all and save. There we go. We've got quite a lot of these little pre-choruses here. All right, we almost made it. Again, Ableton is very stable usually. It does not like the fact that we are screen sharing and recording at the same time. Let's find out where it kicked us out last. So this is what it's doing, is it's laying out all the songs here. It looks like we got through 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 4. So we did 3 of the pre-chorus 4s. We're going to put it there, come back, and we're looking for where we stopped here. 1, 2, 3. Here is the first after the 4, and we'll keep going. All right, so the ending, I usually don't, 1, 2, 3, 4, I usually don't like using 4 bars of ending.
Ending.
Let's see that here.
2.
All right, so that is too long for me. So I'm going to come in here, and what I like to do is I will just um, click and highlight there and click Command E, which is going to cut it. I'm going to trim off the extra tracks, and then it's important to actually pull these and fade them back. Again, we will vamp with the live band in between the songs, and so we don't need all of this extra time on tracks. And we will go ahead and cut this back as well. Cool. So what we need to do now, first I will file, collect all, and save. This next process is going to take a little bit of time here. So I'm going to grab that time code. Well, let's do this. We'll grab the time code file all the way down to here. Because we just trimmed the song, we're going to want to reconsolidate these tracks so that they're all one track. So we're going to hit consolidate. And because we have all of these tracks that are 10 minutes long, it'll take a couple minutes here to consolidate. All right, looks like that is done. We're going to hit stop, file, collect all, and save. It's important to remember to go back and turn off warp on timecode because you do not want to change the timing of the timecode. And we'll save that again. Okay, so now before we continue, we do have a return and B return. We do not need B return, but we do need A return. So we're going to leave that there. And looks like we are going to get another crash. All right, like we were saying, that is unwarped. We're going to delete B return. And again, file, collect all, and save. Cool. So we are getting close to being done now. There's a couple more tedious things we need to do. So most of what we're going to do now is going to be done in the session view. And we'll see how long it goes before it crashes, because there's a lot more going on in the UI here. Um, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go in here and I'm going to relabel all of these. And so the very first one, you'll notice there's no tracks on it. We're going to call it click. And then that one's good to go. We're going to go in, and if we scroll all the way to the left, we can see all of our markers that we wrote, and we're just going to relabel the beginning of these according to the markers that we wrote in. Now the nice thing about this is that you don't need to do this for each set. You just set up the song one time, and then you are good to go moving forward. I'm curious, let me know in the comments if you use Ableton Live. Um, Interested to know how long you've been using Ableton Live or if you are just getting started on it. One trick, you can do Command R and Command C and then Command R, Command V, and that'll allow you to just paste that text right in there and not have to type it every time. This is a great opportunity for that. It's important that you do Command R first before you do Command C and Command V, otherwise you will end up duplicating a portion of the song, which you don't want to do. You just want to make sure that you're grabbing the text only. So again, that's going to be Command R, and then we could just Command V to paste these. One thing, if you do Ableton Live, that means you're on a computer a lot, and you want to learn your keyboard shortcuts. So Command R, Command V. We have another tag, so we'll do Command R, Command C, Command R and V. Paste that there. We'll grab these refrains. Getting into an interlude here. Then we're back to chorus. All right, for some reason it looks like we never put the last one in. So we'll click there, we'll come back over here and just grab this ending that we set up before, consolidate time to new scene. All right, let's see how much of that got saved. All right, so we just need to change this to 2. We're going to select that here, come over here, grab this, and then consolidate time to new scene. Okay, so that is here now. We're going to come in here. We're going to just change this to ending. And then at the very end, we're actually going to do Command I, which is going to duplicate, or not duplicate, but insert a new scene. And then we're going to come back over here and click File, Collect All, and Save. Now, this next part is a lot of preference, but one thing that I like to do is I like to make sure that the color is right. So I'll go in and I'll go verse 1 through the end there and select all of it. And I like to do this kind of off or white gray color. And the reason why is because of the way it shows up on the APC key 40 is it makes it easier to identify what part of the song you are in because it will be white and then you're going to have green for whatever is playing. Now for our count off, we do purple for play, and then our ending we do red, and that makes it easy to see the start and the stop of each song on the APC key 40. So we're going to do collect all and save. The next step we're going to do is probably my least favorite part, and it's pretty tedious, is we're going to go in and double click. It's important to do that here in a minute. So we'll look at the count off, and we can see here that it's 1 bar in length. So we're going to hit master, and actually starting off with, we're going to go to this follow action and click follow action, which should be next. and then you'll notice when we're in count off, the execution time is 1. And so what we want to do is we want to look through these. This looks like it's going to be 8. Verse 2 is 8, and then we have pre-chorus is 4, and then the choruses and the verses are back to 8. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do these two verses. We're going to make them come over here and do action time 8. Pre-chorus action time is going to be 4, and then the choruses and these verses are going to be back to action time 8. And what that's doing is it's saying after 8 bars, play the next scene. And that's what's going to allow the song to continue to progress to the different parts. So we're going to come over here, we're going to look, pre-choruses are 4, looks like the vamp is going to be 1, and then the choruses are going to go back to 8. So we'll come over here, you have to hit master first, pre-choruses are going to be 4, and then we can see that the vamp is going to be 1, and then the choruses are back to 8. We will do file, collect all, and save. Looks like we lost our audio engine, we'll turn that back on. Interesting, I haven't seen that before. We'll keep going. So chorus right here, these are set to 8, and then we have interlude, which is going to be 4, and then it looks like these bridges are going to be 8. Let's see if we can get these audio engines back on. There we go. All right, so continuing on here where we left off. So pre-choruses are 4, vamp is 1, these choruses are 8. Gotta go back and check the interlude, which is 4, and then the bridges are going to be 8. I believe the tags were 4, but we're going to check them anyway. So 4, 4, 4, and 4, and then the refrains go back to 8. So we'll hit master, come over here, highlight those. We can set them all at the same time. Then the refrains are going to be 8. Tags are 4 again, and then the refrains go back to 8 with interludes at 8 and choruses at 8. So tags are going to be 4, and then from refrain on we're going to 8. Looks like that goes all the way through the choruses. Instrumentals are going to be 4. Looks like the refrains are going to be 4 as well. All right, now I'm looking like all of these pre-choruses are going to be 4. So we're going to come over here, go all the way through the pre-choruses. Got to hit master first, then come over here, select the pre-choruses, change that to 4. And then ending is going to be 2. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to come over here to these clicks, and we're going to command each one of them, follow action. It's going to be play again, which I'll explain here in a minute, with bar of 1, file, collect all, and save. Excellent. So we are getting much closer to being done here. The next thing is we want this count, and so we're going to come back over here and work on it here. I'm going to zoom in by clicking Shift plus, and then I'm going to grab this, which is where the guide says 1. Let's see if it's able to do it. All right, check it on that again. Let's make sure that this took, it did. So we'll come over here. We'll try that again. So we're going to come over here and zoom in. I'm going to grab this part that says 1, paste it here, shift and select this. We're going to consolidate, Command C, Command Z, and Z again to put it back, but it's still saved on the clipboard. So we're going to come over here to count and paste it in count. Now this is going to be important. You're going to go beats and loop, and then we're going to paste these. So again, a lot of Command C, Command V. And again, what this is doing is this is giving us an option so that if we were to lose time during the middle of the song, we could actually bring a fader up, which would turn this track on and allow that track to play out into the ears with the click of 4. This pad right here is in the key of D. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab that, copy it. We're going to go all the way to the end of the song, and we're going to paste this here. We're going to take that complex Pro, because we're changing its key. We're going to move it up 2 half steps to the key of E, and then we're going to right click and click consolidate. Going to change its name to E, file, collect all, and save. We're going to grab this track, and we're going to bring this up to the top and paste it here and here. And what that does is that allows us to, at any given time, we have a fader that can bring in a pad in the key of E, and it can play at any point in time. So we're going to remove the stop signs. That's going to allow that pad to play over and over again once we go. We'll leave it in complex, and then we'll turn it on loop. And so that will allow that pad to continue to play. So at any point in time during the song, we can pull the pads in. Next thing we're going to do is we need to finish formatting these tracks. So we don't want the tracks to be in complex because it's eating up too much computer CPU. And because we're not changing the BPM or causing them to re-render, we don't need them to be in complex. So we're going to change them to beats, and then we're going to turn the loop off. All of these MIDI tracks, we're just going to turn the loop off. On this track, we're going to leave it on. For the time code, we're going to just come in and turn the warp off. For the click, same thing, we want to come in, we want to change it to beats because it's going to use less CPU. Guide, we want it to be on beats and loop, and so we'll come over here to the guide, select all of the remaining tracks, and change them to beats. We're going to hit stop, file, collect all, and save. Excellent. So now what we're going to do, I'm just going to show you kind of how this is laid out. The first one is the reference, which is actually being sent into the mguide bus. And I'll show you these master buses here. We have M loop, M bass, M keys, M piano, M EG, M AG, M Vox, and M guide. This is how it's going to the soundboard in all of these different buses so that we have control of them individually. One thing is that it's already pre-routed. So this is set to 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. There's a couple reasons for that. One is that your Mac is going to, when it plays out, it wants to play out its speakers as 1 and 2. And so what we do is we actually have this return bus, which is that A return, and it's set to master, which is 1 and 2. All of your tracks are not going to come out because they're being sent to the various buses. And so by turning that send on each one, it allows you to monitor your tracks on 1 and 2 while they're actually playing back through the rest of the outputs. So that's a cool little feature to do. And what we do is each one of these tracks, so for example, in the guide, both of these guides are being fed to this group right here, which is being fed to M guide. Same thing, M loop, M bass, M keys, and so on and so forth. And so what we do is we actually have one fader that's a master fader that allows us to bring all of our tracks in and out at any time. And then we can actually bring in different groups of the tracks at any time. Now this song is configured exactly the way that it would be in the set. And what's nice about that is using the two computers, on one computer we could be running a set, and on second computer we could actually pull up a completely different song. Um, and the song is already formatted and ready for immediate live playback. Another thing is that your cue out That's going to end up being changed to 16 in our system right here because we do use Ableton's onboard click. And then I'll also change that to 1 bar. And I will save that again. So there it is. That's how we set up our Ableton file for one song. And so once you do this on your song, you do not have to do it again. If you needed to change the key to the song, what you would do is you would come back and you would resave this file in a different name. You would go in, change the keys, reconsolidate all the tracks, and then bring them back in again. I will show you that on a different video as well as how to build a set.